They lied on you. They twisted your words. They painted you out as the villain. In a story they out-taught from their own brokenness. But hear me today. When everybody knows they lied on you, don't waste your breath trying to explain. When God's hand is on your life, vindication is not something you chase. It's something that follows you. What they said about you does not define you. The truth was never up for debate in heaven. Just because man manipulates the narrative doesn't mean God rewrites his plan. Your destiny was sealed long before they opened their mouth. Let me tell you something powerful. There comes a time in every purpose-driven person's life when your name is dragged through the mud. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded. Your light was too bright. Your favor was too loud. Your growth was too undeniable. And instead of celebrating what God was doing in you, they lied to sabotage it. But here's the truth. Lies are temporary. Truth is eternal. And the God of truth does not sleep. He watches. He weighs hearts. He exposes. And when the smoke clears, those who try to bury you with the words will witness the resurrection of your purpose. Some of you are in a season where your reputation is under attack. Your character has been misrepresented. But don't be shaken. You don't need to clear your name when God is elevating it. Sometimes God allows the lie to spread so that when the truth comes, the impact will be undeniable. If they hadn't lied, the platform wouldn't be necessary. If they hadn't betrayed you, the blessing wouldn't be that visible. God didn't cause the lie, but He is using it to rewrite the ending in your favor. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your vindication. Look around. The same people who once questioned you are now starting to see the hand of God upon your life. They may never apologize, they may never confess, but they know, oh yes, they know. They feel the shift, they see the evidence, and it's killing their narrative. Your fruit is speaking louder than their fiction. God is making your name great while they're stuck in the same cycle of deception. That's what happens when you're chosen. That's what happens when you walk in divine purpose. People will lie on you because they can't become you. When people lie on you, they think they're delaying your progress. No. But they're actually activating deeper level of favor. God has a way of taking away what the enemy meant for evil and turn it into a stage for His glory. So don't fight the lie, outgrow it. Don't react, elevate. When you move in silence, God moves in power. And when you stay faithful in the fire, the fourth man in the furnace always shows up. Everyone may have heard a lie, but now everybody is about to witness the truth. They say you were fake, but your consistency proved otherwise. They said you were weak, but your survival became your strength. They said you were the problem, but your peace testified that God was with you. The lie was loud, but grace is louder. And now those who once judged you in private are watching you win in public. God doesn't just vindicate in whispers, He does it on platforms. And when He lifts you, He does it so those who curse you are forced to witness your elevation. This is divine justice. This is kingdom reversal. Every lie they spoke became a stepping stone for God to show off His power in your life. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to respond. Your success was the answer. Your glow up was the retaliation. And your purpose, it's the weapon. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them spread it. Because the more they talk, the more they expose their fear of you. The more they lied, the more they revealed their inability to stop your assignment. And the more they accused, the more God anointed. Don't try to defend yourself when heaven has already ruled in your favor. God is your defense attorney. And the verdict is already in. Not guilty, highly favored, purpose-filled, and undeniable chosen. I came to tell someone who's been crying over character assassination, who's been torn apart by slander, who's been isolated because of someone else's deception. This is not your burial, it's your unveiling. This pain was permission for God to reintroduce with power. And guess what? This time they can't stop it. They know they lied, they know the truth, and now they know they can't touch what God has called. Walk tall, move forward. You don't need to explain your innocence when your fruit already testifies. Stay focused, stay humble, stay planted, because when the truth walks in, lies bow. When the real story revealed, their credibility collapses. And when God decides to elevate you, no lie, no rumor, and no betrayal can keep you down. They lied on Joseph too. They say they tried to violate Potiphar's wife, but the same prison they threw him in became the passageway to Pharaoh's palace. God is not mocked. Your integrity will outlive their gossip. Your calling will overpower their lies, and your future is still intact. So let them know. Let every demon know. Let every liar know. Let every witch and warlock know. You didn't need to clap back because God did it for you. You didn't need to explain because your life is doing the talking. And you didn't need revenge because divine justice has arrived. Everyone knows they lied. And now everyone will know you were always the truth. When God has justified you, you don't need to explain yourself to man. That's the truth that every chosen one must eventually embrace. It's not always easy because our human nature desires validation, especially when we've been wrongly accused or misrepresented. There's something deep within us that wants to rise and defend ourselves, to stand in a room full of people who heard the lies and shout, "That's not who I am." But in the kingdom of God, the highest vindication doesn't come through our explanations. It comes through divine justification. And when God has already ruled in your favor, human opinion comes irrelevant. You see, people will lie on you when your presence threatens their comfort, when your favor makes them feel insecure, when your light reveals their darkness. They don't attack your character because you've done wrong. They attack because they know you're right. That's the spirit of deception. That's the work of jealousy. That's the fruit of fear masquerading as concern. And they will lie to discredit you before you even arrive at your destination, hoping to stop you before you take a seat at the table. But the table is already reserved and the chair is already marked with your name. In the courts of heaven, your name has already been cleared. Your identity is not up for debate. God knew who you were before they twisted the story. God knew your motives, your purity, your integrity, your heart. While others were looking at the surface, God was reading your soul. He saw the tears you didn't show. He heard the prayers you whispered while they whispered lies. He weighted the weight of your pain while they laughed at the destruction they caused. And in all of it, He made a decision. I will defend you. Defend the greatest form of spiritual maturity is trusting God when you have every opportunity to retaliate. It takes faith to remain silent when you want to shout your truth. It takes strength to walk in grace when you're being crucified by false accusations. But that's what Jesus did. They lied on Him. They accused Him of blasphemy, of rebellion, of claiming to be what He already was, the Son of God. They brought Him before men who had no authority to judge Him. They tore His reputation in front of crowds that once adored Him. And yet, He didn't open His mouth in defense. Why? Because He knew that God will vindicate Him through resurrection. That's your story too. They lied on you. They judged you unfairly. They tore your name in rooms you were never invited into. But God saw it all. He marked it. And now He's preparing a resurrection in your life. Not just in private, but in the presence of those who thought they'd bury you with lies. You don't have to chase rumors. You don't have to respond to gossip. You don't have to beg for understanding from people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You were not created to convince people. You were created to carry purpose. And purpose does not require permission from people who never saw you worthy in the first place. There is a peace that comes when you let go of the need to be understood and embrace the calling to be set apart. You are not like them. That's why they lied. You carry what they can't copy. You walk in what they can't fake. You glow with what they can't dim. And their only weapon was words because they never had access to your oil. They couldn't stop the anointing, so they tried to stain your name. But even oil on dirty garments still flows. God is not concerned about the mud they tried to throw. He is focused on the message He is writing through your life. And now they're watching, quietly, secretly, because even though they lied, they can't deny what God is doing. They see you rising. They see the peace on your face. They hear the clarity in your voice. They recognize the strength in your silence. That's the power of God's justification. It doesn't argue, it demonstrates. It doesn't scream, it manifests. It doesn't beg, it declares true evidence that can't be disputed. And no matter how loud a lie was, truth eventually speaks louder. Don't waste your energy trying to reprove yourself. Let your obedience speak. Let your growth speak. Let your survival speak. Let your favor scream. Because God is not just working to vindicate your name. He is elevating it. He is rewriting the narrative. He is using what they meant to destroy you as the very thing that will distinguish you. The storm was not your end. It was your proving ground. The betrayal was not your breaking. It was your unveiling. And while they busy watching, trying to understand how you're still standing, how you're still producing, how you're still walking in power after everything they did, remind yourself, you didn't survive because of them. You survived in spite of them. You didn't endure because you had the strength to fight back. You endured because God held your hand when they tried to break your spirit. You were justified not by men, but by the one who never lies, never sleeps, never fails. So walk in boldness. Don't lower your voice. Don't dull your shine. Don't apologize for the evidence of grace on your life. You owe no one an explanation when heaven has already announced your identity. They know they lied. But now they also know that no lie could stop the truth God planted in you. And the world is about to know it too. Because your time of divine justification is not coming. It has already begun. Lies are temporary, but purpose is eternal. This is not just a comforting statement, it's a spiritual law. The enemy uses lies as distractions, hoping to delay what he cannot destroy. But when God has placed purpose in you, no matter how loud a lie or how many believe it, the truth of your calling remains unchanged. Lies may cause detours, they may create temporary confusion, but they cannot erase the original blueprint of God's plan for your life. When people lie on you, their intent is to distort your image, to shift how others perceive you. They try to blur your reflections so that others don't recognize who you really are. But understand this, people's opinion can change, but your divine identity is fixed. It was established before you were formed in your mother's womb. Long before a rumor was spoken, purpose had already been breathed in your spirit. Heaven doesn't rewrite your destiny because earth is uncomfortable with it. Lies have an expiration date. They're like fog, dense and blinding for a moment, but soon the sun of truth breaks through and reveals everything clearly. The problem is, many people panic in the fog. They lose sight of their direction because the temporary smoke of deceit makes them question what they know in their spirit. Don't fall for it. Your purpose was not created in the court of public opinion. It was established in the throne room of the King, and what God writes cannot be edited by man. Sometimes God will allow the lie to grow just long enough for it to be exposed at the right time. He's not ignoring it, he's calculating the perfect moment when the contrast between the false narrative and your true elevation will be undeniable. That's when vindication doesn't just clear your name, it multiplies your influence. Because when the dust settles and people realize the truth, they don't just respect you, they revere the God who sustained you through the storm. People can lie about what you did, they can twist what you said, they can misinterpret your silence, but they can never touch the eternal purpose that's rooted in your spirit. That purpose has survived your lowest moments. It has endured seasons of isolation. It has carried you when everything else failed. It's the reason why even after betrayal, heartbreak and rejection, you are still here. You didn't survive on luck. You survived on assignment. You didn't push through the pain just for healing. You pushed through because purpose kept pulling you forward. And let me tell you, purpose doesn't die because of what people say. If it could be stopped by slander, Jesus would have never made it to the cross. They lied on him. They mocked him. They accused him of things he never did. But the cross didn't cancel his purpose. It fulfilled it. The same principle applies to you. The lie may sting, but it cannot override destiny. They may have tried to bury you under false stories, but seeds only grow when they are buried. What they meant as a funeral, God used as a planting. You don't have to fight for exposure when God already has planned your emergence. Stay rooted, stay faithful, stay locked into your assignment, because while they are busy feeding lies, God is watering your legacy. While they try to write you off, heaven is writing you into places they could never access. Don't you dare come down from your wall just to argue with people who were never building anything. Don't descend to explain your purpose to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Their lies are loud, but your purpose is louder. And here's what you need to remember. Lies only work when people are close enough to be influenced. But the further you go in God's will, the less their opinions matter. There is a point in your elevation where the sound of purpose drowns out the noise of gossip. And when you get there, you look back and realize that the very lie they used against you became the ladder God used to lift you. Because He specialized in using the schemes of the enemy to catapult His children into destiny. So keep going, keep building, keep speaking when God tells you, and keep silent when He says hold your peace. Don't let the temporary pain of being misunderstood distract you from the eternal call on your life. The lie is a shadow. It looks big, but it has no substance. It cannot stop what God ordained. You are not who they say you are who God says you are. And that declaration is sealed in eternity. One day the same mouth that lied will be silent. Not because they finally saw your truth, but because God made your purpose undeniable. And when that moment comes, don't gloat, don't seek revenge, just keep walking. Because lies fade, but purpose walks on forever. Your fruit will always speak louder than their fiction. You don't have to chase after every false story. You don't need to rush into rooms trying to convince people of your innocence. The evidence of your life will always outlast the noise of their lies. People can say anything, but they can't argue with results. When God has truly called you, when you're walking in your assignment, when your heart remains pure and your hands remain clean, the fruit of your character will rise like the morning sun. It will shine too bright to ignore. You see, fruit is undeniable. You don't need to explain an orange tree to someone who tastes the sweetness of its fruit. And the same principle applies to your life. They may have lied about your motives. They may have tried to slander your name. They may have painted you as something you're not. But over time, who you are will speak louder than what they said. God designed it this way to protect those who walk with Him. Because while people play games with words, God produces outcomes that silence every tongue. Let them say you're fake. Let them label you. Let them gossip. But while they talk, keep building. You keep sowing in love. You keep walking in integrity. You keep serving in humility. And you keep producing. Don't stop bearing fruit just because somebody else is busy planting weeds. Fruit doesn't argue, it grows. And when the harvest comes, the fruit will always reveal who was rooted and who was rotten. The dangerous thing about gossip is that it's cheap. It costs nothing to start a rumor. It takes no courage to assassinate someone's character when they're not in the room. But producing fruit, that takes discipline, that takes consistency. That takes years of quiet obedience, of hidden sacrifices, of private tears, of showing up when no one sees you, and God honors that. He puts His stamp on that kind of faithfulness. That's why you're still growing, even after everything they did. That's why your name still carries weight after they try to strip it. It's not man-made, it's heaven-grown. Let them point fingers while you plant seeds. Eventually the season shifts, and when the harvest comes, it comes with evidence. It speaks in business growth. It speaks in healed relationships. It speaks in peace that surpasses understanding. It speaks in restored purpose. It speaks in divine elevation. And when your fruit starts to manifest, the same people who questioned you will be left speechless. They won't even have to ask what happened. The blessings will be too visible to deny. That's the language of fruit. It testifies without needing to shout. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to curse them. You don't need to lower yourself to their level. Let your result be your rebuttal. Let your fruit be your fire. Because in due time, the people who chose to believe the lie will be forced to wrestle with the truth. Not because you screamed it, but because your life reflected it. You lived it. You embodied it. You remained true when it would have been easier to fight dirty. That's power. That's spiritual maturity. That's the mark of a chosen one. Even Jesus said you should know them by their fruits. Not by their fame, not by what others say, not by the rumors, but by the lasting fruit of their lives. So let your life become a sermon. Let your transformation preach. Let your joy confuse them. Let your growth surprise them. Let your peace convict them. Let your elevation shut their mouth. Because fruit doesn't need PR. It just shows up in season and reminds everyone that it's been growing in silence the whole time. There is something sacred about letting God be your vindicator. When you do, He fights battles you didn't even know were coming. He defends you in rooms you never entered. He softens the heart of people who once believed lies. And most of all, He anoints you to keep producing while under pressure. That's what makes you different. You didn't retaliate. You blossomed. You didn't match their energy. You elevated beyond it. And now your fruit is your testimony. You're not here today because you argue with the light. You're here because you kept showing up and growing anyway. You pushed through seasons of rejection. You kept doing what was right when it wasn't easy. And now your fruit is telling the story they tried to erase. Every new level, every divine connection, every breakthrough is saying, God was with me the whole time. So don't slow down. Don't shrink back. Don't get bitter. Just keep bearing fruit. Let them talk while you testify by doing. Let them lie while you rise. Let them doubt while you deliver. Because fruit never lies. And in this season, your harvest is your answer. Your purpose is louder than their poison. Your calling is louder than their criticism. And your fruit is the final word. Their lies unknowingly pushed you into divine elevation. What they meant to break you only positioned you for something greater. This is the mystery of God's providence. He takes what was meant for evil and uses it as fuel for destiny. The very people who tried to destroy your name were unknowingly helping you step into your calling. They didn't realize that by lying on you, they were actually aligning you with the next stage of your purpose. They thought they were tearing you down, but they were setting the stage for God to lift you up in a way that no man could ever take credit for. Sometimes in life, God allows betrayal to become the transportation for your elevation. When people lie on you, when they conspire behind closed doors, when they gather in corners to speak against your name, God doesn't panic. He prepares. He uses their lies as leverage. Their betrayal becomes the blessing. Their rejection becomes the redirection. It's not that God delights in seeing His children hurt. It's that He is too sovereign to waste anything. He will allow even the messiest situation to become the means through which He reveals His glory in your life. Think about Joseph. His brother lied about him. They sold him into slavery and convinced their father he was dead. But what they didn't know was that their lie was the exact thing God used to position Joseph in Egypt, the place where he would eventually rule. They thought they were removing him from favor, but they were actually pushing him into fulfillment. And that's exactly what happens when you walk in divine purpose. Lies don't block you, they build you. They press you into the presence of God. They push you out of comfort zones and into divine encounters. They create desperation for God that human approval could never produce. Some of the greatest moves of God in your life will be preceded by the deepest betrayals of man. That's because elevation often requires separation. And God will use the lies of others to expose what can no longer stay connected to your next level. There are some places God is calling you to that cannot accommodate the voices that once surrounded you. So He allows the betrayal. He permits the lie. He lets them exit your life with a false narrative. Because the truth is, they were never meant to go where you're going. And instead of begging for their understanding, you have to bless their departure. God bless. You didn't deserve what they said. You didn't provoke what they did. But God used it, and now look at you. Stronger, wiser, more discerning, closer to Him than ever before. The lie hurt, but it humbled you. It crushed you, but it also created something in you that the spotlight never could. Because there is something about being lied on that drives you deeper into the presence of God. When men misjudge you, you start seeking divine validation. And when you start seeking God with that kind of intensity, the answers with clarity, favors, and elevation that no can explain. The people who lied thought they had control over your story, but they underestimated the author. They thought one chapter will cancel the whole book, but God was just getting started. And what's even more powerful is this: when God elevates you, He often does it in the presence of your enemies. He prepares the table not in the absence of conflict, but in the presence of those who caused it. Why? Because the elevation is not just for you. It's a revelation for them. It's God saying, I was with them the whole time. And when God lifts you, He doesn't just repair the damage. They see it and are silenced. Because divine elevation always comes with undeniable evidence. You won't have to announce it. You won't have to prove it. You won't have to advertise it. The blessing will be so obvious, the transformation so clear, the peace in your life so overwhelming, that the same people who lied will have to watch you in silence as God elevates the one they tried to destroy. What they didn't know is that your elevation was birthed in pain, that it was forged in isolation, that it was developed in dark season of silence and surrender. And every time they lied on you, heaven marked it. Every word spoken against you became a seed that God used to grow something new in you. They thought they were scattering your reputation. God was scattering seeds. And now your harvest is not just elevation, it's vindication. So don't despise the betrayal. Don't hate the lie. As painful as it was, it had purpose. It qualified you for a deeper level of favor. It removed the wrong people. It awakened a new version of you. And it cleared the way for God to reveal Himself in your life like never before. You wouldn't be who you are today if they hadn't lied. You wouldn't have prayed like you did. You wouldn't have fasted like you did. You wouldn't have sought God like you did. But the lie forced you to the altar. And now the fire of God is resting on your life in ways you never imagined. You are being elevated not because of who they said you were, but because of who God knows you are. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Let them wrestle with their own conscience. Let them watch your rise, because the same lie they used to bury you became the very reason God decided to bless you. And that's what divine elevation looked like. It turns every attack into access. Every weapon becomes a witness, and every lie becomes a ladder into your destiny. God will publicly vindicate what was privately attacked. That's the kind of God He is. He doesn't just deal with matters in secret when the harm was done in the open. He brings your restoration in the same stage where your reputation was destroyed. He heals you in such a visible way that even those who never asked for the truth are forced to see it with their own eyes. Because while men loves to shame in public and apologize in private, God reverses it. He let them slander you in private, but He blesses you in public. Some attacks don't leave visible scars, but they wound you deeply. When people lie about you behind closed doors, when they twist your name in conversations you were never invited to, when they plant seeds of doubt in rooms where your destiny was being discussed, it can feel unbearable. You cry silent tears, you replay words you didn't deserve, you watch relationships shift for no clear reason, sensing that something was said, but not knowing exactly what. That's the cruelty of private attacks. They're hard to trace, but their impact is real. But what's even more real is God's justice. God saw every whisper. He heard every meeting. He noted every plot. Not one word spoken in the dark escaped His attention. While they thought they were operating in secret, heaven recorded it all. And because you chose not to retaliate, because you stayed humble, because you didn't fight fire with fire, you qualified for divine justice. Not human sympathy, divine justice. the kind that not only clears your name but also blesses your life so evidently that no one can deny his hand on you. When God vindicates, he doesn't need your help. He doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't need a crowd's approval. He just does it, and he does it in such a way that the truth becomes unavoidable. People who believe the lie will start to question everything they heard. They'll see you thriving, walking in peace, covered in favor, moving in power, and it won't make sense. That's how God works. He raises up those who were put down. He honors those who are humiliated. He promotes those who were persecuted. And he does it with such public evidence that even your enemies have no choice but to watch. That's what he did with Daniel. When Daniel was lied on by jealous men and thrown into the lion's den, God did not just shut the mouths of the lions. He brought Daniel out untouched and made sure the king announced his deliverance to the whole nation. God turned a private conspiracy into a public testimony. That's how God moves. He let them set the trap, but he'll make sure the outcome glorifies him and elevates you. So if you're in a season where it feels like people are attacking your character in places you can't reach, you don't panic. Don't try to defend yourself in every conversation. Don't try to run behind every whisper. Just stay planted, stay righteous, stay focused. Because when God steps in, he doesn't just correct the lie. He compensates for the pain, he blesses you double for your trouble, and he lets the blessing be visible to those who thought you wouldn't recover. Vindication is not always about an apology. Sometimes it's about elevation. It's about God blessing you so greatly that the apology becomes unnecessary. Your life becomes the proof. Your peace becomes the answer. Your success becomes the response. And while they try to figure out how you made it through the storm they created, you'll be too busy walking in what God promised. See, God doesn't vindicate to boost your ego. He does it to protect your name, because your name is connected to his glory. You represent his kingdom. You carry his spirit. And when they tried to destroy your character, they didn't realize they were coming against something holy. God doesn't let that go unaddressed. He vindicates because his reputation is tied to how he cares for his children. When people mishandle you, he steps in to make sure they know this one is mine. And the beauty of God's vindication is that it restores what was lost without you having to compromise who you are. You don't have to get bitter. You don't have to get even. You don't have to fight back. Just stand still, and the God of justice will fight for you. He will do it better than you ever could. He will bring clarity without chaos. He will bring restoration without retaliation. He will bring peace that surpasses all understanding. And he will do it in public view. One day soon, the same people who thought you were finished will see the favor on your life and have no choice but to admit God was with you all along. They see doors opening, opportunities flowing, joy returning, and strength rising. And they'll know it wasn't by accident, it was divine, it was ordained. It was God saying, I've seen enough, now I'm going to make it right. So keep your head high, keep your heart clean, keep your focus forward, because God is not finished. Your public vindication is already in motion. What they whispered in darkness, God is about to overturn in the light. What they meant to bury, God is about to raise. What they attacked in secret, God is about to bless in the open. And when he does, you don't want to say a word. Your life will speak loud enough. Your fruit will bear witness. And your victory will declare that God, your defender, your shield, your avenger, has made all things right.